Well, hello and welcome back to my channel for the love of people. Now, I'm not going to tell you who our guest is this evening. I want you to do a bit of guessing or try and figure out who it is. Okay. Well, one clue is, I suppose, we are here in a radio studio, not live, thank goodness. Okay. Now, the person who we are joined by tonight, back in 2014, was in the semi-final of Britain's Got Talent. Also, he is a world-renowned DJ with a very big personality, and everyone loves him. And finally, he's definitely a guy who will get your knees shaking. He is the one and only Allan Turner Ward.
What an intro! Best intro I've ever had. Love it that I'm being interviewed
Hello,
as well.
Allan. Hi.
We good?
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for your time because you're a busy man. I know that.
So busy.
You're so
Just
busy.
So busy.
But that's because you're so blooming good.
And I'm addicted to what I do and I love it. Yeah.
So, Allan, let's find out about you as a person.
Yes.
Bit of background, maybe? Yeah.
Bit of background, okay.
Family stuff or
family stuff?
where you come from and that, you know.
You want to know when I was born and all those things?
Right. Well, it's up to you. You can give dates if you like, but you know.
Well, I was born at a very young age.
Yeah. He's an entertainer.
Okay, so I was born in 1976 in Poole Hospital, and then grew up between England and Germany. And spent most of my summers in Germany, most of my Easters in Germany as well. So I grew up very much bilingual.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate there.
Wow.
And and my mother's very, 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 very German.
Your lovely mum, who I happen to have met several times.
Yeah,
okay.
You get on very well, don't you?
Yeah,
that's nice.
Exactly. Okay, so you're currently living in this area. Obviously, we don't give specifics, but you're living on the south coast.
I am. Since the last. Well, I left England when I was 20.
Right.
So, and I didn't really come back until I was 35, probably.
Oh, that's quite a big gap.
Yeah, I came back once in a while.
Okay.
32, I came back from living in America, so I was properly gone for 11 years.
Wow.
But at 32, I came back to Bournemouth. Didn't really want to, but I had a visa problem in the United States. I was living in Los Angeles, and I had to come back. There was a family issue and all that jazz. So I came back, and I never, ever, ever wanted to come back to England.
No.
And it's so bizarre how things work out because I love it here now. I love this island.
Well, it's great. Can we just rewind a moment? You just dropped Los Angeles, obviously, into the conversation there.
Yeah.
So you went, when you were 20, you went from here straight there, or?
No, 20, I moved to Germany for a bit. I joined a band in Hamburg. Then, after that, I got a job working for Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
Oh.
Epcot Center.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
No, I'd like to.
Yeah, it is good. It is really, really good. But there's little country towns. So I went over there to work as what was known as a merchantainer, they would say. So they flew you over. If you're from wherever. I actually auditioned in Hamburg, in Hanover, actually, in Germany. Yeah. And I went to work in the German bit. But they actually said, no, look, you might be German, but you've got an English accent.
Okay.
And they want the people to be over there and be authentically wherever they're from. So I had this like market stall and would sell Beatles merchandise all day. And it was, you were called a merchantainer. So you had to entertain and sell merchandise at Epcot for a year. They didn't really want you longer than a year because they don't want you becoming Americanized. They want you to remain very British or Norwegian or whatever you are. Yeah. So, and there's the most amazing year ever.
Wow.
And it was really helpful for my confidence.
I bet it was. Gosh, you're really out there, aren't you?
Yeah, but it was really weird because I was always quite dyslexic and in this day and age, probably ADHD. Right. It wasn't called that then. You were just told that you were annoying.
Bit naughty.
Yeah, you were just told you were annoying and you're not really listening and you're not really interested in school, which kind of was right because I wasn't really interested in most of the teachers.
But there was a reason for that, and now we know, but yes, okay. Yeah.
Well, I used to think it was my fault. But now I look back and I think it was actually that they were really boring.
Yeah.
And I actually look back and I go, well, actually, maybe they just couldn't hold my attention span.
Absolutely.
And we called that, in those days, you were just called thick.
Yeah.
But nowadays,
it's a terrible word, isn't it? Yeah, terrible.
It was good. It was just thrown around so easily, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
But you know what? It worked out. So it's
so
cool.
That was a year. That was the first year. So where did you go from there then?
So straight after that, I tried to stay for a while because I got a job working for Universal, but then I had a visa problem as well, so I had to come back to England. And then after that, I actually wrote a song called Shake the Knees.
Oh, hang on a minute. Are we going to, okay. Oh, you wrote it then?
I wrote it just after Disney. So I was 23, came back to England from there. And then I was searching for a record deal, went to Los Angeles for about a month searching for a record deal. Then was trying in London and was really close, like really, really close.
Gosh.
And even during that time, I auditioned for Blue. Do you remember Blue?
I remember Blue. Of course I remember Blue. They're still going. They've come back.
Yeah, I know.
Do you mean like Duncan? Like that?
I auditioned with Duncan. I auditioned with Duncan, and he was such a nice guy. Very, very short.
So you're a singer as well?
Not really, no.
Well,
that's probably why I wasn't in the group.
Well, you obviously, worth a shot.
No, look, the fact of the matter is I went in there, and I remember, because I produced my own songs, and I said, I write my own songs. I'm going to do one of my own tunes. And it was a rap, like Will Smith, PJ and Duncan kind of tune, called Everybody Go AWOL, available now on iTunes, Apple Music. And so
you're incorrigible.
Yeah. But do you know what was weird? It was like they didn't like it. It just didn't work. But I remember Duncan was in another group, and he went in with the other group, and they got rid of the other members and said, "We want you."
Wow.
So I do remember he had a magic about him. But you know what? It's not. Look, this is one thing I'll say about entertainment. It's like not everybody casted for the role as the most talented, but they might have that magic.
Yes.
You know, and it's like you can't argue with that. Somebody might have the most talent in the world. Not saying I did for Blue, but I'm just saying when it works, it works.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's the casting is huge.
So Blue wasn't for you.
I would have gladly done it. Yeah. But yes, I don't think it was for me.
Ping back to America then, or was it?
So no, at that point, that would have been February 2000 when that happened. And then a month later, I landed a job and I was still trying to sell my music.
Okay. So that was continually going on.
That was going on. So it was 1999 when I wrote Shake the Knees, but then to about, I know I think the date was, 22nd of March, day before my birthday, I got a job with Air Tours Holidays suddenly then. So after working with Disney, the great thing with Disney was on your application, it looked fantastic. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then I got a job working as an entertainer. Basically, you're a red coat, but going off. So I went to Greece, and then I went to Mallorca, and then I went to Cyprus, and then I went to Tunisia. But during that time, only a month into me being like working for Air Tours, I got signed by RCA Records in Germany with Shake the Knees, and it went to #1. So then we did a music video. It was the most amazing year, 2000, because I literally must have done 48, I think it was more than that, 75 flights in one year. So it was just back and forth. I had a girlfriend in Mexico at the time.
Oh, come on, Mexico!
Yeah, because we'd been working for Disney at the same time. So
right, that makes sense.
We'd kind of had to go, but it was, so I was going to Texas, and she was on the border of Texas and Mexico, but it was the most amazing year. I wish I'd just enjoyed it more. If I can say anything to my younger self, it would be just chill out and enjoy yourself. But I didn't. But I met the most amazing people as well with Air Tours, and I then, when I was in Tunisia, I worked with Alison Hammond actually.
Oh, yes,
and we were
Alison.
there was 3 of us entertainers out there, and she was amazing then. She had such a magic.
You two together. I'm thinking, what a fireball you must have been.
I learned a lot from her.
Really?
I can honestly say I learned a lot. There's not many people that you look at and you go, watching her even doing just bingo or a quiz.
Yeah.
She just had such a...
Even then, yeah.
She was exactly the same.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, she was good. She was really, really good. But once again, there were other people that were really, really, really talented, but might not have had quite the magic dust.
Okay.
You know, that little extra bit. And there is no doubt in the world when you watch Alison Hammond, she had that extra little bit of something about her. And do you believe in law of attraction? I don't know, are you into that?
I don't know, what is it?
You know, when you put something out to the universe now.
Oh yeah, well I probably don't do that, but
no, I presume you don't, do you? But no, because I suppose within the church it's somewhat wrong.
It might be a similar thing to what we might pray, possibly.
Well, it is, and actually I think within the Bible, I think it is most of it stolen from the Bible anyway.
Okay.
And
that's a good place to steal from.
If you're going to steal from anywhere, steal it from the Bible. But they do miss out the Jesus bit, which is,
kind of key.
Yeah, but they say, how it says in the Bible, a man is what he says of himself and blah, blah, blah. But you throw something out to Yeah, but it is
almost
in a
like
weird,
believe it, like the manifestation.
yeah, it's all very well praying for it, but if you don't believe it for yourself, it's not
True.
going to
That's true.
manifest.
Yeah.
The manifestation is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I remember Alison leaving Tunisia and just saying, I'm going on Big Brother. And I'm like, have you even applied yet? And she's like, no, but I'm going to when I get home. So she quit her job,
Wow.
went home. She had that much faith
Wow.
in what she was doing. It was so inspiring, honestly, so inspiring to see someone that just believed
Yes.
in themselves
That is
so
fantastic.
much. You know,
absolutely.
that it's all very well having faith.
Yeah.
But you do have to
You've
have
got
faith.
to do your bit, haven't you?
Yeah, you've still got to make moves.
You've got to push it, yeah.
You might pray for it, but you've still got to walk in it and have that confidence in God providing it for you when you walk out on water, you know, which is kind of, but once again, this is quite biblical because it's like whole seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness and all these things shall come
Alan,
to you.
I'm just going to come in here. You sound like you're a religious man. Is that true?
No, not really a religious man, but I am a man of faith and I'm definitely a strong believer in Jesus Christ.
Wow.
And my life changed a lot when I was 26. So we're going to get to that.
Okay, right.
So when I was working as an entertainer, I said a lot. I'm talking about myself a lot here.
No, it's supposed to
but
be.
I suppose I'm allowed to.
Usually
I get rollickings on my own podcast because I talk too much.
We want to know about you. That's exactly what we're here for.
Really? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
No, I'd been traveling. I'd had the song in Germany that went to #1 on German MTV, station called Viva. So I was on Top of the Pops over there. I did all that. Yeah. But then from nowhere, it was dropped. I was the record company, the Simon Cowell equivalent in Germany. He suddenly died right in the middle of the project. Oh, gosh. So they just scrapped. I was called AWOL at that point. I wasn't even called Allan Turner Ward. I went by AWOL. Oh. Stupid name, I know, but it worked. AWOL. AWOL, like absent without leave. The army term.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah, a producer I'd been working with said, it's a great name. It was a good name in English, but to mix it with the European community, it didn't really work because the translation took too long to explain. And then by the time you get there, it's like explaining a joke. If you have to explain it,
it's sort of lost its fun.
Yeah, it's lost its fun. But I suppose I did that. And then doing Tunisia, then I went to Tenerife as well, working out there. And then, like I said, cybersecurity. I was so miserable. Honestly, I was a really sad, depressed guy, and I'm not saying that for sympathy. I was genuinely, but I think it was. You have to
put on all this jolly kind of persona.
I was happy in those moments, without a doubt, but I generally did struggle with what would be now classed as mental illness. It wasn't called that then, but once again, going back to the if you were thick or depressed, it was just like snap out of it, get clever, whatever, you know. Yeah. But at 26, I had a proper moment where I felt, actually at 20, I had a proper moment in a church. This is before I even went to Disney. Yeah. And I was praying to become a pop star in Lansdowne Baptist Church.
Oh, I know Lansdowne.
And it's the most hands down Lansdowne, they call it. It's a very uncharismatic church, isn't it? And I had a proper moment. And I don't care about explaining this. I used to be kind of weary how I explained this situation, but I literally had a hand come on my head. Wow. And I just started shaking and speaking in tongues.
Wow.
And I never wanted to be one of those types of Christians, but I was praying, Lord, let me be a pop star. I want to be a pop star. Yeah. And I literally had this hand come on my head. And then I just heard through like this amazing, powerful, airy voice, I just heard, no.
Audible God. Wow.
Follow me. No. Follow me. Ooh. And I tell you what, I was 20. I brushed that hand off my head, didn't want to know. Okay. I was like, so I was, in essence, and I'd say 2 days after that, that's when within my wonderful experiences at Disney and Air Tours and all these places, I was running away from that voice, in essence, and trying to...
Well, it wasn't the answer you wanted, was it?
Seeking self rather than seeking God in a sense. But do you know what was interesting? So when I was 26, I remember being back from working in Tenerife and just about to work on the cruise ships. And I suddenly had that moment where I was like, oh, I forgot about that. That's why I'm depressed. Because I forgot about that. That's why. And I literally, at that moment, ran into your church. Isn't that bizarre that we're talking about that now? Gosh. I ran into your church on that Sunday night, St. Peter's Church in Ashley Cross. Yeah. and there was an amazing service going on with about 6 people in that amazing congregation.
Yeah.
I mean, the congregation, that for a church that's so beautiful,
Yeah.
there was not much going on there for many
Right,
years.
okay.
And but that's irrelevant. But I walked in and just kind of handed it all over.
Wow.
And I can honestly say, and I can't promise this happens to anybody else, but it was like a root was pulled out. It was like this depression was just pulled out of me.
Wow.
And the
That's
joy
powerful.
of the Lord took over. And I mean, it doesn't mean it's always no depression. And sometimes the more because we are still in these flesh suits, aren't we? So a lot of the time when I'm, might be slipping or whatever, sometimes that's a good way to know if I am slipping from God a little bit, because I do find myself when you're getting more and more in the flesh a lot of the time.
Very honest of you to say that, actually, because a lot of people would just completely cover this over. But I think it's very helpful for you to say that, because your persona, again, I mean, you are a lovely, funny, entertaining man, but obviously behind that, well, no, you are, you sort of, you ooze that kind of fun. But obviously that's not, you can't be like that all the time. And you'll have your own battles, And I think anybody who probably says they don't, I'd be very sort of suspicious of. But you obviously had big stuff to deal with.
I think the moment you kind of give it over, though, suddenly the big things aren't that big anymore, and they start to sort themselves out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You've still got to walk in it, but they do start to sort themselves out, and it was the most amazing situation. But without a doubt, I mean, then after working on the cruise ships, I was sat in the same church, Lansdowne Baptist, so I'd been doing entertainment, going to Grand Cayman, to Mexico, to Belize, and then back to Tampa every week, and then after that, I kind of knew I wasn't supposed to be on the ships.
Okay.
And then I was sat in Lansdowne, and I just heard go to Los Angeles in 5 days. And then I went in 8, but I went.
Well, no.
But can I just say, though, like anybody watching this, I can thoroughly understand how bonkers it may sound to say I heard these voices. No, because,
some people do.
Yeah, but I can also understand how some people would think, if I was hearing it as a third person, I would also be saying, yeah, right.
Okay.
I would. Yeah. But for me, it's real, and I believe it.
Yeah.
But I followed that voice, and I went to LA, and I was supposed to only go for 2 weeks, but I just didn't take my flight home. Wow. And I stayed for 5.5 years. And during that time, I worked on amazing television shows. But I think it was such a massive life lesson, because I'd been seeking so much to go and become famous and be this important person and which I still do at times. That's the weirdest thing, that we still go back there, and then there's that time where you just have to lay it down. But it was so peculiar, because I went out there, and as soon as I got there, I remember dated this girl that had been on the Apollo, which is a massive show in America. Right. But I remember sitting with her and having a coffee and watching her, where she goes, I'm going to make it. I'm going to prove it to everybody. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's me, isn't it? I do that. And it was really not nice. Oh, wow. It was really sad to see the desperation. And I thought, but then everybody I was meeting in Los Angeles had a lot of that desperation. Sure. So it was really bizarre that I was being taken to a place of like that. And actually the talent in Los Angeles, your average waiter was a phenomenal singer or actor or writer. Yeah. And they were struggling, there was a lot of broken dreams there.
Oh, I'm sure.
But then I started working in TV production, and I worked with Trump for 6 months. Wow. No, for 3 months with Trump. Worked with P. Diddy. I worked with Stan Lee. Oops.
Oh, Stan Lee!
Who created Marvel Comics.
Oh, our son is, yes, yeah.
What a lovely guy he was.
He died last year, he died, wasn't
he? A couple of years ago, I think now. But yeah, what a lovely guy. I mean, so inspiring.
The thing is, Alan, you should be about 83, because so far you fitted so much into your life. So
I am 49.
Well, I know, but we haven't even got there yet. Okay, so you were in LA for 5.5 years. So what caused you to come back? May I ask?
Well, when I was in LA, I was working on all these TV shows. So I was a warm-up guy also for American Gladiator, and I started doing bits of DJing.
Okay.
Back again then for Disney, but Disney California. I was doing their weddings and stuff like that.
Wow.
But I never chose to be a DJ.
Okay.
I never chose radio either.
Oh, really?
I was trying to be acting. I was doing stand-up. I was producing my own songs and stuff. I did bits of DJing. I did DJ in a strip bar and DJ I did do that, but at 5.5 years I was there. And then there was a point where I gave it up and joined YWAM for a while. Have
I
you heard
know
of
why.
YWAM?
Well, yeah, okay, yeah,
Bit culty. Am I
yeah.
allowed to say that?
So
I found
yeah,
it a bit
yeah,
culty. It was a bit
yeah,
culty, but I was sucked in and I went there.
yeah,
But God bless those guys. I learned a lot there as well. It's all
yeah.
learning, isn't it? So,
Absolutely, yeah.
but they kicked me out actually. So they said I had an what was it? Well, I had an individual spirit or whatever.
Oh,
No, I
that's
had
kind.
a unique, a disobedient spirit or something like that because I didn't
Oh,
listen to them when they said,
oh,
God is
oh.
telling us you're going to Uganda and or whatever. And I said, well, he's not telling me that. I do not hear that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Either way, it
okay.
doesn't matter.
No,
It was a real powerful time because at least I
yeah,
heard some great preachers and stuff like that during that
yeah.
time. But it was only 3 months, and then I was back working in Los Angeles. So it was all in Los Angeles, but I
Wow.
wasn't. Um, and then I had just a family situation.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, my visa just wasn't intact, and I
Mhm.
should have been a bit better with my visa paper. But I came back to England and then got refused entry coming back into America. So
They hadn't had enough of you, had they?
they'd had enough of
That's
ATW.
terrible.
No,
Have
I
a word
kind of
with them.
felt like it was a really God thing that I look back now, I'm like, I couldn't have planned it better.
No, sure.
But I came back for 2 weeks, then went back in, and then there was an issue with my visa, and then I had to go back to England. I wasn't deported. I was refused entry, but I got sent
Let's
back
make
to.
that straight here. Let's get this
Yeah, no, I
straight.
do want to make
Yeah,
that straight
yeah,
because I wasn't actually deported, but I was
yeah.
refused entry, and I had to go home. But I had no plan ever to
Wow.
move back to the UK.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's so bizarre because you go through a thing when you first move back here called reverse culture shock. Have you heard of that?
Well, I can imagine it's going back to where you came from, is it? Is it like
Yeah, it's like you've been away for ages. So your
yeah.
family's originally from Canada, aren't they?
No.
They're not.
I've got Canadian sister lives in Canada, but they're not from Canada, no.
Oh,
No.
okay. So you've got quite a few Canadian
We're all over
relatives.
the yeah, we have. Yeah,
But
we have.
Canada's the main one where you
Yes,
guys are.
yes, yeah. Yes.
And your dad's quite famous out there, isn't
No. Is he?
he? Yeah, I think well, I'd
Is
say
he?
so.
My
Yeah.
dad, is he?
Yeah, as an
As
author and a preacher,
a
right?
preacher? Yeah, my dad goes all over the world, to be honest. Yeah. I think he's famous in India, if anywhere.
India.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, this is not about us, though. Sorry.
No, I'm
Anyway,
interested.
no. Anyway, yeah.
That's a great thing with about a podcast because the guests can ask the.
Oh, you are allowed to. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's written quite a few books, obviously being a preacher, but yeah, so probably famous in India. But anyway, yes, the culture shock. Yeah, so reverse culture, you were saying.
Reverse culture shock.
Yeah.
You'd say there's about 3 different stages, but the first stage is you start to like the place when you come back because you've still got so much of the old place, like Los Angeles, in you, but you come back and you really think you can change this place and make it into Los Angeles.
Oh.
The second month, you realize very quickly, no, you can't.
Uh-oh.
And then you dip. You can really dip,
Oh,
and it
dear.
can be very sad. And then after that, you can then, then after that, you suddenly realize, well, I've learned a lot from there.
Yes, okay.
And I actually do like it here, even though the
Yeah.
weather's not that bad. Actually, this bit's really good, and I've got some friends here now, and
Wow.
actually, it's all right, isn't it? And then within a year, I went a little bit. I did move away twice when I first came back, so I did want to get away. So I went to Cyprus for a bit, did a little stint out there for about 2 or 3 months, and then worked in Dubai quite a bit as well. I got
Oh
5 amazing New Year's Eve gigs in the JW Marriott. And I wasn't, the first time I went, I wasn't even really a DJ. I was just an entertainer.
You sort of fallen into being a DJ, really?
I definitely didn't choose to be a DJ.
But is it because you are a natural entertainer that this kind, apart from the tech stuff, it all comes, that's who you are on the radio? Because you are an entertainer, right? On the radio?
Yeah.
Listening to you, that's like how you always sound. It's like, you're interesting to listen to. So you have to hold people's attention for, 2 hours at a time, sort of thing?
With music. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think I was actually meant to be a DJ. Really, the DJing thing is completely, it is just like a piano player for me. It's just so real. But it wasn't a plan. I never really, I came back to England, and I suppose there weren't the same options to work on TV shows in Bournemouth. There just weren't the same types. And there were the 2 options immediately when I came back here was we can DJ parties and you can be on the radio. And an amazing friend of mine who's since passed away, a Jewish guy called Lawrence Miller, he worked for years in the entertainment industry. And I remember I came back and I was a I was a director, I was an actor, I was a songwriter, I was a producer, comedian, and I was at all these things. And he said, Alan, you sound like a frustrated artist. I'll tell you one thing, you're a great DJ.
Oh.
You're not a good singer. And he said, he was so horribly blunt, horrible. He said, but you're a great DJ and you're a great radio presenter. And he said, don't even bother with anything else.
Don't meddle.
He said, no, he was really clear. He said, look, the more you do other stuff, you just look frustrated and you're going in the wrong directions. He said, just stick to what you can do. Now, that was massive advice because, you know, that's now 15 years later. And it's my livelihood. Okay. But I definitely didn't plan it. It found me more than I found it. Okay.
I love it. That's very interesting. Okay. So we better mention BGT quickly.
Yeah.
Hadn't we? So Britain's Got Talent, what made you go on there? Did someone say, oh, I know something you should do? Or do you think I've really got to do this?
Well, when I first came back from America, there was really not much going on for me. So I was working in a pie shop in Poole.
Ooh, lovely.
And it was nice, actually.
I like
Cornish Bakehouse, if they're still going.
Oh, yes, they are.
They were amazing.
They're in Tesco's.
And it was so weird. I remember then I was like, this time last year I was warming up for American Gladiator, and now I'm down on Poole High Street working at Cornish Bakehouse. But it was amazing. I actually really enjoyed it and made it a bit of a show, really. Yeah. And just kind of thought, right, well, this is where you're at. Yeah. Sometimes when you're given lemons, there's only one option, isn't there?
Put it in a pasty. No, eat a pasty. I don't know. When you give them potatoes.
Yeah. But it was so weird. But then I remember I went on Britain's Got Talent 3 times. So the first time, when I first came back, I went on as a serious DJ doing some of my a serious song called Boogie. It was serious-ish, but it just, you know, I didn't even get past the T-boy. You know, you go through all these different stages. And then the next year I went on again. Actually, I did Shake the Knees, but I did it in a serious kind of way.
Okay.
And really tried to ham it up and be like, but at that point I was, you know, I was suddenly then 34, and I was, but it was too old to be a young performer.
Okay.
Probably too old to be too young. No, it's too old to be one of the young cool ones, but it was it was still possibly a bit too young to be a random, but I wasn't that random then. And then it was after by this point then suddenly I was getting into radio.
Yeah.
And then it was 2 years later, and I was back and forth living from here to Manchester, and I'd just been working in Dubai. And I was like, actually, do you know what? I'd seen Simon Cowell come on, and it had been a couple of years, and I thought, actually, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to bring my gear up there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be serious. I'm going to be a bit of a plonker.
Oh, wow.
So I'll bring the whole radio DJ thing in. And
boy, did it work.
And it did. No, it kind of worked because I just kept, and I remember going up to Birmingham to do the audition, and I thought, right, I'm bringing my full gear. If they want a show, I'll bring a full gear. So I brought these heavy speakers. So I needed a crew to carry my speakers. So I got to the front of the line because I had all this heavy gear.
Oh, well done.
So I kept just getting to the next level, and it was like, whoa. And I did my song Model Pose, and I went through, and then I went through to another line, and then I went through to another, and it was just like endless. The day just wouldn't stop.
How exciting.
And this was so good. And then suddenly they're doing phone interviews. And then from the phone interviews, suddenly from the phone interviews, they said, right, you're going to actually do the proper audition now. And that's when I went in the January and did it in front of Simon Cowell and the gang.
Oh, wow.
And once again, that was an amazing experience to be in that room and see it all going on and see how manipulated it is. But it doesn't matter.
I was going to say, that's a problem. Yeah.
It doesn't matter though, because I'm just grateful to have been on the show.
It is a show, isn't it? Yeah.
I think if you know the nature of the beast, then you can really enjoy the situation, because you kind of go.
You had the right attitude going in. Yeah.
I knew that. Well, I knew I was newly back in the south coast of England, and I wasn't booking that many gigs at that point, and I could see that people like Danny Dyer or people from Towie were getting all the DJ gigs when they were really not that good DJs. They really weren't that good. They were really like very, very below average, but they were names. So I thought, hang on, a bit of TV can really help, you know, and it can really push.
Which obviously has done.
Yeah. Well, to a certain degree. I think the thing is, when I got through, a lot of the time, I do remember when I got through, and my mum saying to me, well, yeah, it was entertaining, but you're a much better DJ than you are.
Oh.
No, but
Yeah.
her point was I
Well,
wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't really show me off to be a great DJ.
Yeah,
It showed
no.
me to have a bit of a crazy personality.
Mothers are always very honest.
She was very
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, she did say, look, you've got every gig you do now.
Yeah.
Because to a certain degree, people book you almost like the elephant in the room to say, that's the guy from Britain's Got Talent, let's book him.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether you're any good or not. But I do remember my mum saying, every single gig you do now, it has to be on. You have to be on. And I suppose I kept to that. And even at 49 now, it's still every single. Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm addicted. I love it so much, but I am.
But it comes like you're so passionate about it.
I am, but it's to my own. I'm like, it's like being an athlete. I don't sleep the night before, and I don't.
Right.
But then, like, say last weekend, I had 4 gigs back to back. Friday night, I'm a nervous. People don't think so because when I'm doing it, I'm having the best time of my life. But people don't know.
Is that good that you get nervous still? Do you think?
They say it is, but I know some DJs that genuinely don't.
Yeah.
I care too. Look, even an hour before my radio show, I can't talk to anybody.
Really?
Yeah, I'm really like in a zone.
But that's how important it is to you. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's silly though, isn't it? Because it's only entertainment, but it is.
It's not entertainment.
But I am absolutely obsessed. Yeah, I am.
Right, well, I've got to draw this to a close. I've realised, but obviously we can talk all day. But I have got a question to ask.
Yeah, go on. But be careful. I might answer it for 5 minutes.
Well, that's okay. Well, this is
how long has this gone on? How long have we been? 31 minutes.
Well, there we are. So,
am I the longest one so far?
Yes, I think.
Yes!
Oh, of course you are. You're Allan Turner Ward.
Okay.
Right. This is a question that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've given you pre-warning, so you're going to be right in here. So, Allan, what would you like your lasting legacy to be?
Oh my gosh.
No pressure, but there's a question for you.
I like to be. Oh gosh.
It can be silly, it can be sensible, it can be anything.
Well, I'd like to be known as the guy that made people smile, sing, and dance.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Yeah, to maybe be the guy that people went to see to escape their problems, and that.
Yeah.
I think my gig is that I want to send people into a place of chaos, but real positive chaos, and give them that experience and just let them. It's their show, you know what I mean? It's their. I'm not one of those DJs that goes in and goes, I only do this.
Yeah.
No, it's. Yeah. I start every gig off with a gospel record. If I'm honest with you.
Do you really?
Yeah, with Kirk Franklin, "God Like You." That's always the first song.
Wow.
Pretty much always. So, but and then, and then after that, I go into whatever feels correct. I never have a playlist, so I'm always reading what the audience want. But I suppose that's what I would like. Someone that brought the feel good. Yeah.
But how amazing is that? Because there's so much negativity in the world, as we both know, all around the world, even locally, and day by day. Talked earlier on about mental health. So what a lovely thing that you want to bring that to people, and you have done throughout your 49 years, and you will hopefully you can carry on for a very long time. But I think that's an amazing legacy. I like being entertained personally. I think you're very funny and very listenable. So if I think that I was one kind of regular woman, if you like, you've probably seen thousands of people all over the world. Yeah, yes, you would have done. You've been on cruise ships. You've been on shows. I mean, you think about it, and that has a knock-on effect. If someone's had a really good evening out, they're going to go home with their family. They're going to be. I don't know. I think it's a really, really good. I think it's a gift.
Really, well, that's very kind of you to say. Sometimes I keep thinking. I suppose coming from quite a corporate family.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I struggled with that a lot. So there's part of me because I did run. I don't know whether you know, but 2 years ago I ran for politics.
No.
Because I do have a very strong, as well as I suppose my 3 major interests are entertainment, religion, spirituality, and politics.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, and I just remember it didn't really make my heart sing. It didn't make my heart sing. I do enjoy politics, the theatre of politics.
Yes.
But I don't think I'm down to earth enough to. And I think that is something that really major. I think the problem is with politics is there's sometimes the person that might be really charismatic might get in, but that should be a very irrelevant situation because what's really important, like the guy, I don't know whether you know the guy that's your politician, MP in Poole. Do you know him? Neil Duncan Jordan.
I think Mike might.
I hope he does, and you should have him at church and should let him perform. He's a brilliant singer, but I love that he's all about the people.
Okay.
if that makes sense. I love that
they should be in the middle, shouldn't they? Really, yeah.
Yeah, but there's some other politicians like I love to get in the head of people, so I do enjoy that. But without a doubt, my favourite thing in the world is still to just bring people smiles and just bring people into a place of rhythm.
To bring this into land, as they say, I think I have been entertained, obviously, this evening, and hopefully everybody who watches this will be. Please subscribe. You tell them, Alan. Subscribe.
Subscribe. What's it called, though?
Subscribe. It's called For the Love of People.
What a great name.
Well, but you know why? I love people.
You do, don't you? You're very good.
Well, I know. I just love people. It's just I could sit and listen to you. Literally, I'm happy to listen to you all day, all night.
That's why you're really good at this, because you actually enjoy listening.
I love listening. I do love listening.
I struggle with that sometimes.
But that's okay.
I'm being truthful. I'm being truthful. I suddenly want to say, yeah, but do you know what? Yeah, but do you know what happened to me?
That's okay. But that's part of your entertainment. Anyway.
Possibly.
Possibly. We're going to wrap up here, as you can say, because we could go on all night.
Wrap it up.
I am so grateful to you, ATW.
Can we promote disco dance? Disco jive.
Go on.
Disco jive. So my major passion of mine is dance. So I do a thing called modern jive.
Ooh.
And I'm really, really into that. So it's where you jive to modern music and disco and stuff like that. And one thing I love is that a lot of the jivers have been coming to my gigs lately. For many years, I just went to jive and it was my hobby.
Okay.
And all of a sudden now they're actually coming along, which I'm really, really excited about. But I'm actually doing my first ever jive night. So it's disco jive, so bringing the whole jive with the Studio 54 vibe.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The whole...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so people can come alone and dance.
Yeah.
But you can, but it's jive. It's jive first and foremost, but we want people to come alone and just, you do not need anyone to go with. You can come all by yourself to this. It's such a good way to meet people. It's so friendly.
Fun as well.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, good.
So much
fun. We like fun, yeah.
And just a real, but either way, my first one is on the 11th of July at St. Peter's Church in Ashley Cross. What's the postcode? I don't know either.
BH140NN.
Is it?
It is.
Hey, that's good. Okay.
But it probably will be on our website soon, I would have thought, won't it? Where are we? Because we're nearly in June. So yes, so it will be advertised it'll be on St. Peter's Facebook, and you'll be advertising it too, won't you?
Oh.
Well, I'll be there. I'll be a right jive bunny.
Oh, yeah.
Jive bunny?
Yeah, you can be a jive bunny if you want.
I don't know. But I'll have a go. I will have a go.
It'd be great to get your sisters there.
Oh, yes. We'll get the Mellis sisters there.
Well, no, I even told...
they should be there. They'd
I'd really like it if they were there. Yeah,
okay, we'll try. Sisters. Come on, Mellis sisters.
I told Rebecca she can do one of her songs.
Okay, all right.
Well, they can both do one of their songs. Sorry, they can both do one of their songs.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you for joining us, Alan. Thank you so much. You are a true gem.
No, you are.
No, you are.
No, you are.
No, you are. You are. Keep going.
And you got such a cool husband.
Oh no! Don't say that on. We're going to cut that.
Okay.